What's up, everybody? Today we're gonna go Uber driving. It's a ride along. Right now we're in Bradenton at Salem's, and it's a Friday night. Should be pretty crazy out there. So I noticed a homeless person that was kind of bent over by the side of the road. When I drove off, I noticed that they were on the ground, so I thought they might have overdosed. So I went to check on them, but they had just laid down for the night. They decided to do it here on the sidewalk because of their safety. They want to be seen from the road because they're afraid of hiding where somebody could hurt them. I couldn't get any rides in Brains, and so I headed down into downtown Sarasota. As soon as I entered downtown on the left, I noticed the city of Sarasota truck running the homeless people off from the gas station. You can see the homeless people there on the left, a group of people walking away from there as they're being evicted by the city of Sarasota truck. So as I'm heading towards downtown where most of the passengers are going to be, I decided to take a right down Coconut where I had heard the homeless people are now hanging out. And sure enough, there was plenty of homeless people hanging out on Coconut. Now the adjacent street to the left of us is Central, and that's where the homeless people used to be, but they got ran out of there. If you've been watching my series on homeless arrests, you'll see that the city of Sarasota Police Department has been arresting homeless people left and right to where there's almost practically no homeless people left. Now this is Central. Right here, every single night, between 50 to 110 people would be sleeping on the side of the road. And today, there are only a few people left. As I Uber drive, I always keep an eye out for the homeless people to see who I can help if anybody needs anything, but it's really getting sad and depressing since most of them are just getting locked up. As I head into downtown Sarasota, I notice police pulling people over looking for people driving under the influence. They have really stepped it up now in the summer when the city's empty and only the locals are here, which is interesting because most of the DUIs and people driving under the influence is in the winter time when the snowbirds are here, but for some mysterious reason now in the off season in the summertime when it's only locals in town is when they decide to step up the DUI patrols. I had never really seen so many DUI checkpoints in this metropolitan area. Around Siesta Key it was particularly heavy, and I had one Uber passenger, a group of passengers that actually made my life pretty crappy by their behavior, which attracted the eyes of law enforcement. So the person is way over here, but he's got me out here. So this is gonna be some type of scam. So this was my first passenger of the night in downtown Sarasota. They ordered me to go to a church, which I knew nobody would be there late at night. And then the person says, oh, I'm actually at a bar at the office box, but he wasn't really. This is a scam. So the first person, he pulled a scam. And then he told me when he was in the Uber, we had a normal conversation. And he told me something along the lines, oh, when I get out, I'll certainly give you a good tip to make up for wasting your time or whatever. But guess what? He never tipped me. So he was going back to Siesta Key, and, well, that's where I took him. He promised me a $10 tip to make up for the inconvenience. But at the end of the day, he was a scammer and full of crap. As an Uber driver, when somebody tells you they're going to give you money on the app, they're not going to give you crap. So that's exactly what this turned into. So the first passenger of the night scammed me to avoid some type of surge in downtown. But I scammed him back because I made sure to wait there and stack up a waiting fee for him at the church to make sure that he paid up the difference either way. But by now it's close to 1 a.m. and Siesta Key is looking like a ghost town, emptier than I've ever seen it. On top of that, there were 6 police cars on the southern end, creating somewhat of a roadblock checkpoint. I've never seen anything like that here in Florida, but that looked like what was going on. So it seemed like police presence was very heavy in what looked to be DUI checkpoints. Interesting because now there's literally nobody out and about to hit if you were drunk. Now I noticed this little situation last year as well where they step up the DUI checkpoints during the off season, and I talked to some local people about this issue, and what they're telling me is, well, there's not really a lot of money to be made with catching people from out of town. It's really if they can catch people that live here in this area, then they can milk them through the court system and lawyer fees and programs. So it's somewhat of a scenario where like the lawyers and the DUI schools and whatever all that is has the ability to try to influence law enforcement to conduct these checkpoints during the off season so they can catch locals. Sounds about right for Florida. Let's take a drive down Siesta Key and see what the strip looks like. Coming up around the corner, you can see 2 police cars here, and one of them decided to give chase to me for some reason, and dog me out. It's been happening kind of a lot lately. So the crazy thing about Florida is during the winter, when we have the most accidents, the most drunks, the most problems, the law enforcement isn't really busy. But now during the off season, they're really concentrated on trying to catch local people with DUIs to feed their program. So you can see that it's practically more dead than you've ever seen it. And it was here where I picked up some passengers who unfortunately brought some undue law enforcement attention before they even got in my vehicle. So this bar on the right where we're going to be picking them up at is called a beach house. And normally Uber drivers can park right in front of the beach house to pick up their passengers without a problem. In fact, there's a police car station right there, and that's where the Uber drivers pick up their passengers. Unfortunately, these passengers created just a scene getting into my vehicle that it cost law enforcement to approach my vehicle and tell me that I had to pick them up in the little parking lot right here on the right. But of course, you just saw that there's a police car parked there, and it's a one-way, so you can't really go in there because there's usually cops parked in there blocking traffic. So every Uber driver picks up people right in the front here without a problem. These guys' behavior caused law enforcement to approach me and tell me that I couldn't do it, not because I was doing something out of line, but because their behavior warranted it. So now I got to deal with this police officer who's going to be looking out for me here when I'm picking up my passengers because of their unruly behavior. And you'll see that the directions that the police officer gave me really can't be carried out because they park their police cars there blocking the way. But next time I'm there, when they get in front of me, I'm going to honk the horn and tell them to get the crap out of the way because, well, that's the directions they give you. This cop was kind of mad and angry, but I was just doing my job like every other Uber driver. It was really the passenger's behavior that caused this incident. What's good, y'all? What's good, man? What's happening? Max, man, I got you, brother.
Yeah, my brother.
Cool, awesome, let's go.
Sick truck. Thank you for getting us, man.
Gotta help, man.
Yo, this trick is fucking shit.
You want to shake that ass over here? You want to hop in, too?
Put you guys on bangers.
Got room.
I'm talking to the street girl. You got our Addy?
I got you. You're going to Lido? Lido Key? Lido?
Yeah, right on the beach.
Yeah. So here's the first problem. The guy in the white hat in the back whistled at some girls that were walking by while they're in my vehicle. So already they're starting to be problematic, harassing people. In fact, you can see the girl's facial expression where she looks shocked at the behavior, and I wouldn't doubt that it was her who flagged down the police officers. So I haven't even initiated the ride, and these guys are already harassing people, probably the reason why the cops came to get us.
Yo, hold on. Yo, hey, yo. Shit. Everybody's got to have a seatbelt. You got too many people. They got cops on the island.
We're fucking around.
Yeah. You got too many people, bro.
One more.
Everybody's got to have a seatbelt.
He's the last one.
No. You got too many in here.
Right, so
there's cops. They got. See, yo.
No, we're gonna strap them in.
I'm trying to tell them they gotta get out.
No, stop. You guys go.
All right, I will.
We'll meet you home. Pablo will stop.
Everybody's gotta wear seatbelts.
Pablo will stay.
Go with Scott.
You couldn't really hear the police officer, but he was screaming at me. He wasn't happy. He says, you got to get the crap out of the way. So now I got a police officer screaming directions at me, and I can't carry out those directions because they're not listening to what I'm telling them to do.
Rick, go with Scott, dude. Yeah, I appreciate it. You got one space in the front. There you go. Everybody's got to have a seatbelt. You got one in the front. You can come, bro. You can appreciate it.
Let's get in.
Sucker. Yeah, they got a lot of.
Thank
Let's
you.
go, guys. Ready to roll?
The girls home. Thank God. I didn't know.
Fucked Rick.
Bring him home for us.
You guys, seatbelts, guys, seatbelts. They got a lot of cops on the island right now.
Fuck 12.
Lots of cops.
Lot of feds.
We do not like cops.
Yo, Rick just got fucked.
Yeah, fuck Rick. Everybody got seatbelts?
I'm so glad I'm in this car.
I don't know.
Dude,
guys got seatbelts, please.
If someone was gonna get dogged, it was Rick. Yeah.
Where are you guys from?
Fucking
upstate New York. That's what's up, man.
So any Uber driver knows that the best thing you can do right now with drunk people is blast music loudly that hopefully they will like and dance to and listen to, and hopefully that will keep them busy. You'll notice that at some point I'm pretty sure we're being tailgated by a police officer again. Because it's a pickup truck, perhaps the law enforcement may not know that I'm just an Uber driver and maybe that I'm not their friend, but regardless, they pretty much were harassing people in front of law enforcement, so it's understandable that law enforcement will want to keep an eye on them. Now, I keep my Uber app high on the dash, so if there's a police car behind me, they can see that I'm an Uber driver. Now, for some reason that I don't understand, these guys decided that it would be cool if they listened to rap music loudly, which is the music they wanted to listen to. It's not what I care to listen to, it's what they want because they're the passengers. But if you look at their hand motions, they were all doing gun hand motions and pointing them at passing cars. I eventually had to call their attention and say, hey, you know, you are in Florida and you are kind of making threats to people in traffic, and this could lead to somebody actually having a weapon firing at us. At one point, they even used flash photography in the back, which made me think that I had got one of those tickets where they take a picture of your license plate. But looking at the footage now, they were using flash photography in the back. Look, I'm all for people having a good time, but when you start to harass people and, you know, disrespect females, and then on top of that, you're making gun signs at people, in the state of Florida, that could be considered a battery. You don't actually have to put your hands on somebody to be arrested for battery in Florida, but the person who first initiates threatening behavior is the person who usually gets arrested. At one point, one of the passengers kept sticking his whole body out the window, and they were pointing making little guns with their fingers and pointing them at people and pretending them they were going to shoot at them. That in the state of Florida is considered a battery or an assault, and it is an arrestable offense. And if somebody were to perceive that 5 or 6 people in a car pretending like they have guns as a threat and they were to shoot at us, they would actually could be immune to the consequences. So in other words, these passengers are putting me in a position where they can actually get us hurt by their behavior. And keep in mind, there's like 5 of them and 1 of me, so there's only so much I can actually do to deter their behavior. You know, I decided that for my safety, the best thing to do would be to take them to their destination versus trying to expel them, because it is a large group of people who's intoxicated.
Y'all know this ain't New York. Somebody might actually think y'all pointing guns at them.
Turn left on South Coach.
Oh, we got
There's people here in Florida actually see you do it. They might think you actually got guns and shoot back at us.
We are in the South, though.
You are in the South, though. People might really think you got guns. Hey, yo, make sure you guys got your cell phones and everything you got.
Yeah.
Turn right on Tyler.
Where we stopping? Right here?
Yeah, this is good. This is
right here.
good.
We're good here. Make sure you got your phones,
My
guys.
brother.
Dude, have fun, man.
You did us a solid, man. Thanks for bumping Kodak.
Yeah,
And you also play really good music.
Yeah, man. Check your phones. Make sure you all got your phones and wallets and everything.
Legend. You good? Legend.
All right, buddy. All right, man.
You know what's wrong with this situation is that I went above and beyond. I played the music they like. I tolerated their behavior. I even had to deal with law enforcement because of them. And they didn't even tip, bro. This is a ride where they should have given me a $40, $50 tip all day long. Most people would have given me at least a $20 tip. People do act like this on Uber, but most people recognize that if they behave like this, that they have to give back something to the driver for putting up with their behavior. The problem with these guys is that I put up with their behavior hoping that they were going to tip me, and then they didn't. And this was the second passenger tonight. The other guy, he knew his behavior was scammy and crappy, so he told me he was going to give me $10 through the app, and he didn't either. So the problem is that you're going above and beyond. You're even putting yourself in crappy situations for these people, and they don't appreciate it. So this is kind of where, as an Uber driver, it can be a little bit frustrating that you go above and beyond to put up with people's crap and treat them with respect, you know? If your behavior puts your Uber driver in one of these predicaments, then the least you should do is throw them a $10 or $20 bill to make up for your behavior. The problem is that on this evening, nobody tipped. I worked 5 hours and made less than $100, which means that on a Friday night, you can't even make $20 an hour. And I did spend a quarter of a gas tank on this evening. Now, gas right now is at $3.15, so I'm guessing that I really only made about $75 to $80. And that doesn't count the fact that 5 grown men jumping and dancing around the back of your car doesn't scratch stuff up. So this was a pretty crappy evening. If people had tipped me like they were supposed to, I should have made $150, and that would have been worth it. So it wasn't the app, it was the people, really. Alright guys, so it's 2 in the morning, so clubs are closing here in Gulf Gate Estates. Pretty violent area. Picking up passengers here can be quite the story. So let's see if we can pick these people up here. This is the type of place where picking up people late at night, 2 in the morning, bars closing. We'll see.
Pick up Tristan.
They could be sober, or at least not completely crapped out. We'll find out. Sometimes you get an employee. Might be an employee. Who knows? We'll see. This place is so problematic at night. Let's see where our passengers are. Okay, they're up there.
these people were actually pretty cool. Golf Gate at night can be completely unpredictable, but these passengers were still sober enough to where we had a conversation. In fact, I think it was one of the best conversations I've had on Uber, and they didn't tip me, and that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, does that guy have a bottle in his hand? Yo, what the crap? This guy got in the car with an open container, and I didn't see it because he's behind me. See, this can get me arrested in the state of Florida, and this is why Uber driving is so bad. To me, it appeared that these people were good passengers, but now I'm reviewing this footage, and I'm actually concerned. He knew he had an open container, so he got behind me where I couldn't see him. So this was the only passenger of the night that I thought was normal, and now I review the video, and it wasn't normal. But lesson learned, if you're Uber driving and you have multiple people get in the car, you need to look very carefully at whoever sits behind you, because now they're purposely trying to sit behind you to conceal whatever they're doing. So we can see on this night potentially how much trouble these Uber passengers could have got me into. And the last passengers of the night weren't any better, because as soon as they got in the car, got ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Let's get you going. We're now going to Bradenton, Bayshore Gardens.
Yes,
Kind of Oniko, kind of.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll.
Thank you.
How you guys having a good night?
Yeah. Are you having a good night?
It's been kind of crazy.
What you mean?
People out here acting a fool.
Oh, a bunch of drunk
You know, weekend. I'm gonna put the windows on because I can smell you guys got some urban, but
Okay. I
can't.
was just talking.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, some with the if it makes a car smell like weed,
Yeah, I know.
they'll complain and close your account. Yeah, like, cause like somebody might come in here and think that's the driver that's doing it.
Oh,
Cause I
yeah.
don't know if you realize that, like, if you're around that smell all the time, you might not tell. But that's the type of smell that like will stay in the car for like tomorrow when I get in the car, the
Yeah,
first thing I'll know.
Yeah, then just go ahead and keep them down.
Yeah. Like tomorrow when I get in the car, it'll smell like that.
Yeah.
Like you might be around it all the time and you might not tell, but like tomorrow I'll get in the car and I'll smell it. So basically I said, look, I'm gonna let it slide for you guys. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it, but I educated them a little bit on why Uber drivers cannot allow their passengers to smell like that. I wasn't gonna kick them out. I mean, they were clearly kind of, one of the passengers even passed out during the ride. So this is what you get during the weekends. And unfortunately, we had one passenger who drew police attention. We had another passenger who had an open container, which is a crime in Florida, could have got me arrested. And these individuals obviously were transporting something that smelled very herbal. So at the end of the day, just about every single passenger we had was breaking the law. On top of that, I only had one single passenger the whole night who tipped me. It was a young girl from the Philippines who gave me a $5 tip. But other than her, just about every passenger here didn't tip me. And well, even worse than that, they were just about all engaged in illegal activity, which had we got pulled over by police on a night where police was targeting people actively, I could have been responsible in some way or another for their behavior. I mean, I don't know. But you got people with open containers in your car. And the only thing that really saved me is that when I get passengers that behave like this, I always turn on the GoPro in case there needs to be something clarified. You know, like in the case of the open container, the person purposely sat behind me so I couldn't see it, and I didn't see it. The only thing I can say is in the future, I'll have to be more careful when somebody gets in the car as a group. If they sit behind me, I need to see who that person is behind me, look them dead in the face, and ask them if they have an open container, because now this is something else I gotta look out for. This is what it's like to Uber drive for less than $100 for sure. I mean, with gas, maybe $80 for 5 hours. It's really not worth it. And it's nights like this that make you wonder if it's even worth to Uber drive. And the last passengers of the night were going to Oniko, which is a very dangerous high crime area. The type of place you don't Uber drive at night. Oniko is possibly one of the most dangerous places in all of Bradenton and Sarasota. So being out here at 2:30, 3 in the morning is always like you gotta be alert. And I don't like to pick up people here, but every once in a while I'll drop somebody off here depending on where they're coming from. But it's a type of area that most Uber drivers don't venture into this late at night. And it's always the same scenario with Bradenton. They always have herb on them, and that's what you can smell. Imagine the things you don't know they're doing. This is just superficially what you can tell they're doing. Who knows if they got weapons? Who knows if they're a felon? that isn't supposed to have a weapon. Who knows if they're doing something illegal and they're trying to make it seem like you're part of their whatever movement they're making. I mean, being out here late at night Uber driving is absolutely insane. And, you know, sometimes you have to pay the bill, so you got to go out there and make the money. But these are the type of neighborhoods you don't really want to end up late at night. I love that taco truck late at night, but you can see there's a bunch of homeless people there on the left in front of that building. And if you were trying to get out and buy tacos here late at night, you're going to get bombarded with panhandlers asking you to give them food, asking you to give them money, telling you that they haven't eaten all day. So there are food trucks out here late at night, but despite the fact they're good, I avoid them because every time you go out there, you always have homeless people panhandling. So it's kind of, it really hurts the businesses actually because, I mean, you're not going to, every time you go out there to get some tacos late at night, you always got somebody trying to, you know, at the end of the work shift at night, you want to go grab a taco before you go home or something. And then, you know, you got that little scenario where there's like all these people on the sidelines always trying to panhandle. Sometimes they can get a little scary actually. So anyways, I mean, most of them are cool, but there's a few that are kind of crazy. That's the situation out there. Less than $100, y'all. All this for less than $100. And you know, the crazy thing about Uber driving, it's the things you don't know could have happened. Like in the case of the person with the container that was open, I as an Uber driver wasn't even aware. I thought we were having a good conversation. There were respectful passengers. Turns out the guy in the back seat's hiding a beer bottle from me, you know, which could be turned into a weapon, which could get me arrested. I mean, that's definitely not something you would want as an Uber driver. If they're intoxicated, he could have used that, thrown it out the window or something and hurt somebody. I mean, there's no telling what could have happened here. And all this time, I was completely unaware of the danger. Of course, with your passengers, it's always cool to seem hip. Oh, hey, bro, look, I normally let it slide. You got to work your magic with people because if you start making confrontations, I mean, on this particular evening, one person was clearly transporting herb. The other one had an open container, and the others were harassing people and completely intoxicated. So if you start kicking people out of the ride, how many people are you going to kick out? You know, how many passengers are you going to have left at the end of the night? Every single one of them is engaging in something they're not supposed to. And these are the things you could see. Imagine the person that's got something stashed and you can't see it. Imagine a convicted felon that's got a gun and you can't see it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's no telling where this could go. I mean, you got a convicted felon that has an armed on him. You may not be able to see that. You might have a convicted felon in the back seat with a weapon. He's not supposed to have it. Now you got a police car behind you. There's no telling where things could go. You know, I had a story a few months ago in Tampa where I had a girl where she wouldn't get out of the Uber. I don't know why she wouldn't get out of the Uber. I eventually called 911. When I called 911, this girl launched at me to take my phone, and then she ran off when she couldn't steal my phone. Maybe this person, you know, was a convicted felon with a gun on him. Who knows, right? There's no telling. And in this particular case, that's actually a crime right there. It's called interfering with communication. I didn't know that was a crime, but I recently pulled a video off the internet, one of these Freedom of Information Act videos, and it turns out that hindering communication is it's not a felony, but it's a crime in Florida. So I could have actually got that passenger arrested, but I didn't. So, you know, refusing to leave, trespassing, and then hindering communication. We have had at least five carjackings in this area here recently as well. So carjackings are becoming a thing now. So it's extraordinarily dangerous to be out there late at night Uber driving, and when you get paid for it, it just ain't worth the risk. I'll be real with you guys. But at the end of the day, we all got bills to pay, and even when you're trying to make an honest living, you have to deal with people that are putting you in precarious situations. I personally wouldn't break the law to make money. So I'm doing Uber because it's an honest living. But even when you're trying to make an honest living, you got people that are putting you in a situation where it may appear like you're on the wrong side of the law when you're really not. So this is what it's like making money today. Even when you're not breaking the law, when you're trying to earn an honest living, you got people that are trying to use you for their unlawful means. And sometimes that can put you in a situation where law enforcement might assume that you're the one breaking the law. So we live in a time now where even if you're trying to make an honest living, it isn't easy. And, you know, if you drive late at night, like on this evening, right, you had 3 or 4 passengers who were clearly doing things that were wrong. If you were to identify those issues and expel them, eventually Uber would close your account. So the thing about being an Uber driver is unfortunately, you're kind of almost forced to put up with all this behavior, because if you were to start systematically flagging all their passengers, they would eventually get rid of you, which means that as an Uber driver, Uber almost forces you to have to look the other way sometimes, because if you start flagging people left and right, you're eventually going to get kicked off the platform yourself because you're not really productive for business, which is one of those scenarios where, like, even though you don't have a boss on top of you telling you what's right or wrong, you kind of do. You kind of do, because on a night like this, if you start to flag every single person that's doing something wrong, eventually they're going to flag you, and then you're the one that's going to have your account closed. So it's like, even if you're trying to make an honest living, it's difficult. And if one of these idiots leaves a phone in your car that has a tracker, which has happened to me, instead of going through the Uber app and, you know, reporting that they left something in your car, they'll come at night to your house or wherever you are, and they'll try to break in your vehicle to get their stuff back. So there's a never-ending problem as an Uber driver with complications that can happen. It really is difficult to make a living honestly these days. If these people were to leave a phone in your car, they're not going to go call Uber and say they left a phone in the car. They're going to track the phone to wherever you are and try to break in your car to get it back, you know? And it's just difficult. I mean, every night when you leave your car, you know, if you're an Uber driver, search your car thoroughly, underneath the seats, every crack and crevice. Make sure that nobody left a phone in your car, because if they did, chances are they're going to come looking for it without going through the Uber app. So it puts you in a situation where now somebody's trying to break in your car. It is just not worth it. I'm telling you guys, Uber driving late at night, it's not for everybody.